This is one of World War II's best-kept secrets. A story almost no one knows today. An American unit so unusual that its soldiers weren't trained to fight, but to deceive. And with nothing but inflatable tanks, fake radio messages, and pure creativity, they fooled the Nazi war machine. By 1944, World War II had become a massive, grinding conflict stretching across Europe. Millions of soldiers were fighting in France, Belgium, and the Netherlands. The Allies were pushing east, but every move they made was watched carefully by German reconnaissance aircraft. The smallest shift in troop positions, the outline of tanks below, even the movement of supply trucks could expose their plans. In a war where information meant survival, deception became one of the most powerful weapons. And that's where a strange and secret unit entered the story. The Allies weren't just fighting battles, they were fighting for control of information. Germany relied heavily on aerial reconnaissance, radio interception, and ground scouts. If the enemy learned where an attack would happen, thousands of lives could be lost. Germany had one of the most advanced intelligence networks in the world. Their reconnaissance planes scanned the roads and fields daily. Their radio operators intercepted Allied messages, and their analysts studied troop movements with incredible precision. To the Allies, this meant one thing. Any exposed plan could cost thousands of lives. So the Allies turned to deception, not small tricks, massive, military-level illusions designed to mislead an entire army. Fake divisions, fake radio chatter, fake tanks that looked real from the sky. This new strategy was more than clever. It became a weapon as powerful as any tank or artillery piece. What made the Ghost Army so unusual was that it didn't fight with weapons. It fought with creativity. Artists, designers, actors, engineers, people who normally had nothing to do with warfare were suddenly shaping the outcome of entire battles. Their mission wasn't to destroy the enemy, it was to deceive them. In 1944, deep in the chaos of World War II's final year, the U.S. Army activated a top-secret unit unlike anything ever seen before. Its mission wasn't to kill. Its mission was to make the enemy believe in an army that didn't exist. They were officially called the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, but history remembers them as the Ghost Army. This unit was built from artists, designers, actors, sound engineers, and advertising specialists. Not typical soldiers, but masters of illusion, fighting with imagination instead of bullets. By mid-1944, the Allies had pushed into France. But success came with a deadly problem. German forces were constantly tracking US divisions, their movements, their strengths, and their supply lines. One mistake could expose thousands of Allied soldiers. The Ghost Army was created to stop that. One of their most brilliant tools was almost unbelievable. Inflatable tanks. These were full-size rubber replicas of real tanks. Two men could carry one on their shoulders, set it down, and inflated in minutes. Soon, an empty field became a tank battalion that looked completely real from the air or through enemy binoculars. But every tank was just air. But making them look real wasn't enough. A real army makes noise. So the Ghost Army recorded the sounds of actual tank units. Engines starting, tracks moving, soldiers working. Then they played these recordings through huge loudspeakers mounted on trucks. The sound could travel up to 15 miles. To the Germans, it felt like a full armored division was arriving. In reality, the Ghost Army had fewer than 1,100 men. Everything else, the tanks, the noise, the activity, was illusion. Yet the Germans believed it again and again. The Germans relied heavily on intercepted radio signals, so the Ghost Army created fake radio traffic, perfectly copying the habits of real divisions. Every pause, every rhythm. German listeners thought they were tracking the 6th Armored Division, but it was only a handful of operators sitting in a tent. One of their greatest deceptions took place near the Rhine River in 1945. Their mission was simple and incredibly dangerous. Draw German forces away from the real Allied crossing point. With only a few hundred men, they began building the illusion of a 30th Hausendemann division. They set up rows of inflatable tanks, fake artillery, roaring sound trucks, phony radio messages, even soldiers wearing the insignia of units that weren't there. The Germans took the bait. They moved their troops to stop a threat that didn't exist. But this left the real crossing point far less defended. Thousands of Allied lives were saved. The Ghost Army repeated operations like this more than 20 times. Every mission was a gamble. If captured, they would be executed as spies. No mercy, no protection. For decades, their work stayed classified. The soldiers went home with no recognition and no stories they were allowed to tell. Only in the 1990s did the truth emerge, that artists and illusionists had helped defeat Nazi Germany. So the next time you hear about the great battles of World War II, remember the army no one saw. The army made of air, sound, and imagination. The Ghost Army. If you want more hidden stories from World War II and beyond, consider subscribing, and thanks for watching.